If you've been lost at sea since 2017 or so, and you've missed out on the last 7 years of gaming, of course, the first thing you would do after your body is wildly tossed up on shore wouldn't be to do something dumb like scrubbing the barnacles or Long John Silver's clam strips off your body. No, the first thing you would do would be to scoop up the nearest feral street cat, befriend that majestic beast, name him Cusco, and sit down to catch up on some of the greatest indie titles that have released since the launch of the system. And if you need help on deciding which games those would be, well, lucky you, because I happen to have just the list. First up is a truly incredible game brought to us from Supergiant Games, the developers of Pyre, Transistor, Bastion, and their greatest yet, 2018's Hades. A roguelike dungeon crawler, this game stands tall above its competition in a very crowded genre by offering some of the best gameplay, art, music, and narrative-driven story ever seen to come out of the roguelike field. As Zagreus, the son of the ruler of the underworld Hades, you attempt to make your escape out of the underworld, in defiance of your father's wishes. And every time you get killed, you return back to the House of Hades, to the amusement of your very emotionally distant dad. With fast and aggressive hack-and-slash action, complete with swords, bows, spears, magical attacks, and special abilities that you'll receive from sympathetic Greek gods. These abilities, called boons, give your character offensive and defensive powers that will always be very much appreciated, trust me on that. These are specific powers to each god based on the particular Olympian. Like Zeus will provide lightning damage, Poseidon water damage, and so on. The combat is buttery smooth, seamlessly switching between attack as you rip your way through demon after washed up demon who dare try to stand in your way. Basically, an underworld version of John Wick. You'll move through each stage until defeating all the enemies in that particular area. You do this as you gradually climb your way out of the underworld and away from your unloving father. In between playthroughs, you can explore the House of Hades, which acts as the game's overworld. Here you can prep your next loadout, and what I find really interesting is that this is where you can meet and talk with the other members of the underworld, building relationships and discovering the very impressive way that the story of the game plays out. And yep, most importantly, you can also pet a dog. He does have 3 heads though, so I mean, if you're okay with that, that's just all the more that needs a petting. The dialogue is also very impressive, with Supergiant writing unique dialogue lines for every scenario that you may get into. This was no small feat, and the skill of it is definitely noticed the more you play through. I absolutely love this game, as it is one of the most fun gaming experiences that I've had in a very long time. Hades truly is the culmination of everything that Supergiant has learned with their previous releases. Begin your journey out of hell now by picking up Hades on the eShop for $24.99. Next up, we have a game heavily inspired by one of my all-time favorites, Mega Man X, with Domesticated Ant Studios' 2023 release, Gravity Circuit. Your story begins as Kai, a member of the Guardians, as you awake with your memory circuit shot, not aware of who you are or what in the hell is happening, immediately being thrust into a fast-paced battle against a group of evil robots known as the Virus Army that have been hell-bent on destroying the world of kind-hearted, sentient robots. The gameplay here is top-notch, 16-bit Super Nintendo-era action goodness, highly polished, with fast and fluid fighting. Using your fists, this time around, differing itself from the likes of the aforementioned Mega Man, making you get up and close with the enemies to duke it out, never allowing you the luxury of just sitting back and taking it easy. With some very responsive controls and mechanics, including standards such as wall jumping, floor sliding, and a grapple shot that can be used not only to swing from section to section, but also as an attack, allowing you to latch on to enemies, pulling them towards you, inflicting a devastating blow. The graphics are of course done in that wonderful 16-bit style, with bright and colorful backgrounds looking absolutely incredible. Remind me of some of the best looking Super Nintendo and even Game Boy Advance games, with highly detailed sprites and backgrounds with some very nice looking character animations. The enemies are really well distinguished from each other, each feeling unique in their own attacks and style, and this is especially true for the boss fights that will keep you on your toes, each having a new pattern to learn. The soundtrack is also a huge highlight, composed by Dominic Nidmark, and the soundtrack is straight up retro goodness. With that classic chiptune style, yet enhanced with modern tools and instruments, laying out a wide landscape of music to be enjoyed as you punch, kick, and grapple your way through stage after stage. With rock, metal, jazz, pop, and at times, all of those fused into one, it is a true masterpiece of a score. Gravity Circuit is available right now on the eShop for $21.99. Okay, let me be real with you. I hate golf. However, with that being said, I absolutely love and adore the next game on our list, and of course that game is Golf Story. Released in 2017 by Australian studio Sidebar Games, this ultra-charming love letter to the Game Boy Color era of games, taking inspiration in particular from retro-style golf, and even more in particular, the Mario Golf game. Originally planned for the Wii U's final days, where it would have most certainly had a much smaller audience and die a very, very lonely death. However, thankfully Nintendo offered it the chance to live and thrive by being released as one of the early titles for the Switch. And what a great decision that was, with Golf Story merging the worlds of golf and RPGs seamlessly, creating a game that is one part a sports game and another part an ode to classic JRPGs. With a narrative-driven story mode, leading you through a life of a dude who is just trying to get his shit together, I think we can definitely all relate to that. This plays out in a beautiful way of seamlessly incorporating some very solid golf mechanics with great physics and feel. Utilizing the HD rumble, allowing you to feel every putt and drive, and I really do love just how accessible this game is and how satisfying every hit feels. Yet, it does take some time and skill to truly master. And a soundtrack that fits every stage perfectly, depending on whichever RPG style area that you find yourself in. Whether it be a spooky graveyard area, forest, desert, or snow, each track fits very well. Another charming aspect that hit right away was the very innovative way in which they utilized the text boxes for each character. Depending on what your character is saying, the size of the font will shift, allowing for a very effective way in which to show emotion and tone. You can pick up Golf Story on the eShop for $14.99. Up next, we have one of the best Metroidvanias to come out in the last decade, the follow-up to the Game Kitchen's first blood-soaked adventure, with its sequel, 2023's Blasphemous II. Building on everything that the first entry did right, Blasphemous II continues the story of the Penitent One, as you set out to destroy an evil entity known as the Miracle. As the Penitent One, your order is to try and stop the Miracle from reincarnating itself, taking out in brutal fashion its most faithful disciples and protectors. One of the first aspects that you'll notice differentiates this entry from the first one is that you'll immediately have the chance to select one of 3 weapons: a giant incense burner that acts as a powerful flail, a fast-acting dagger and rapier combo, and the praying blade, a badass sword which resembles the weapon in Blasphemous 1. But regardless whichever weapon you choose, throughout the game you'll have the ability to discover and obtain the other 2 weapons as well, and you'll need all 3 to gain access to impassable areas of the map, with each having its own ability, such as being able to ring a large bell and exposing hidden platforms, striking a mirror, which allows you to teleport through certain barriers, and being able to bust through these living, body walls. This falls right in line with Game Kitchen's producer, David Arosa's desire to make Blasphemous II into more of a traditional Metroidvania entry, feeling a bit more like Castlevania Symphony of the Night rather than Metroid though, just in my opinion. You'll also have access to your rosary beads, which grant you passive skills and buffs, and spells known as prayers that act as your magical attacks. You'll also notice these rail-type mechanisms on some of the walls, making platforms just out of reach, and this of course leads to the classic Metroidvania-style wall jump. All these aspects lead to some truly addictive gameplay, feeling familiar since nothing done in Blasphemous 2 is groundbreaking in the Vania genre. However, what is offered is truly some of the best gameplay of any action platformer, with expertly crafted combat, without any hiccups while fighting multiple enemies that I have come across yet. The platforming aspects are done very well, completely on par with the best of the Castlevania and Metroid titles, keeping the gameplay fresh and exciting. Blasphemous 2 is available on the eShop for $29.99, but also for $10 more, you can pick up the physical edition for $39.99. So The Messenger launched all the way back in 2018, and was at the time one of the best games on the system, and still remains one of the best games on the system to this day. Of course inspired heavily by other ninja-centric games of old like Ninja Gaiden and Shinobi, but also later on in the game, you can see influences from Castlevania. This happens because halfway through, the game opens up into a complete 16-bit graphical and musical overhaul, transforming it into a Metroidvania. You are a ninja living in your peaceful little village. As you're going about your day, a demon attacks, leading to the arrival of a mysterious character known as the Western Hero. He then bestows you the title of the Messenger, gives you a scroll, and orders you to deliver it to the top of a mountain. Easy, right? No. This game can be extremely difficult at times, very much keeping with the Ninja Gaiden influence. However, with the multiple power-ups and abilities that you're able to unlock and purchase, the difficulty is definitely manageable as you learn to utilize new skills, and simply as you become better at the game as you progress. As you have the ability to run, jump, and attack with your sword, you also learn a very useful skill called cloud stepping. This allows you to do a second jump in the air after attacking an enemy or striking an object. You'll also gain access to a rope dart, which allows you to attach onto items and enemies and pull yourself through. You of course also gain the ability to cling and jump up walls. And of course, being that this is the prequel to the new game Sea of Stars based in the same universe, one of the greatest aspects of this game is the music. The soundtrack, composed by Eric W. Brown, the same composer for Sea of Stars, is an excellent throwback to the retro 8 and 16-bit chiptune style. You can pick up The Messenger on the eShop for $19.99. I love me a good beat-em-up game, and lucky enough, the Switch is awash with classic series and new entries alike. And top of that list is Tribute Games' 2022 release, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge. Developed by some of the same staff that worked on the beat-em-up adaptation of Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, and music written by T. Lopez, the composer for Sonic Mania and Streets of Rage 4. And with those credentials, you already know that this game is going to be something very special. Starting out with a gorgeous animated opening, full of nostalgia for the original cartoon, leading you to some of the smoothest gameplay of any beat-em-up that I've ever experienced. Taking inspiration from the Super Nintendo Turtles in Time and Sega Genesis Hyperstone Heist, you'll have the familiar standard normal, dash, and jump attacks, plus your special moves. There isn't anything gameplay-wise that hasn't been done before, but it is executed perfectly, with a roster of playable characters being, of course, the Turtles, plus April, Splinter, and Casey Jones. The game features local and online multiplayer up to 6 players, perfect for laying the beat down on the Foot Clan with your closest friends and family. The graphics are done in that beautiful pixel art style, with vibrant and colorful backgrounds, characters, and enemies alike. Everything looks absolutely fantastic while you run around the streets of New York, pummeling ninja and oversized rhinoceros. TMNT Shredder's Revenge is available on the eShop for $24.99, or for a few bucks more, you can pick up the physical edition for $39.99, complete with a cute little retro-inspired player's manual. Oh wow, hey, would you look at that? Wow! JRPGs are one of, if not my favorite game genres, with the Switch being an absolute powerhouse when it comes to JRPGs. There are hundreds to choose from, but one of my all-time favorites is a little game called Chained Echoes, developed by a one-man team of Matthias Linda, and published by Deck 13. Chained Echoes is a very impressive love letter to the JRPG greats of yesterday, of course taking influence from Final Fantasy VI and Chrono Trigger. In fact, the opening scene is a nearly shot-for-shot copy of the first scene from Chrono Trigger. Beginning on the continent of Valandis in the midst of a wide-scale war between 3 kingdoms, the politics play out similar to something like Game of Thrones, with warring factions and ton of backstabbing. With an incredible-looking graphical style, calling back only the best nostalgia-filled memories of our favorite games, with a really nice choice of color palettes, tones, and lighting. The gameplay is that tried and true turn-based combat, however, this is where Chained Echoes sets itself aside from its peers and the greats that it's based on. By utilizing an overdrive system, this bar fills up more and more with every time you attack, yet acts as a double-edged sword in the way that when it fills up halfway, you'll be in the green, where your attacks will be more effective and you'll take less damage. However, once it fills up all the way, you'll be in the red, meaning that you'll do less damage and take more. Utilizing random moves will help bring the meter back down to green, so I definitely recommend that. You'll also be able to have up to 6 characters in your party, with 3 on the screen at any given time, with the remaining 3 able to swap out during the fight. And one of the best things about this combat is that after every fight, your health and ability bars will return to full. This isn't meant to make the game easy at all, just as a way to allow you to give everything you've got in every battle without having to worry about saving special moves or, what's coming up next like a boss or something. So if you're looking for another bright and colorful JRPG that takes inspiration from only the greats of yesteryear, pick yourself up Chained Echoes right now for $24.99 on the eShop. I love a good survival horror game, something with the right kind of atmosphere and environment that will get under my skin and stick with me long after I've turned the game off. The original Resident Evil and Silent Hill for the PlayStation 1 definitely had that very effect on me, and so does a game that I've recently played called Signalis. Rose Engine's 2022 release is very much a spiritual successor to the games like PlayStation 1 horror greats such as the aforementioned Resident Evil, Silent Hill, and even Clock Tower. A surreal and existential terror-filled narrative with your character Elster, an android called a replica, created in the image of humans. These are used as the primary workforce and army for a totalitarian government in the nation of Usan. The game opens up with a series of disturbing images and a very creepy quote from H.P. Lovecraft's The Festival, which is very fitting, with Lovecraft basically being the grandfather of cosmic horror, which Signalis definitely pushes into. You awake on an unknown planet, and you're looking for your missing human partner. As you explore through this decrepit station trying to figure out what happened, you realize that something terrible has occurred as dead, mutilated bodies begin coming back from the dead as horrific creatures. These lurch and stumble after you, reminding me a bit of how the nurses move in Silent Hill. The combat is by the book survival horror, using your left shoulder button to aim and then the right shoulder button to fire. You'll have limited ammo and an inventory that only allows you to hold 6 items at once on your person, so inventory management is definitely a concern as you have to decide what is truly essential for your survival. You'll discover safe rooms where you can save utilizing monitors with this really eerie glowing red screen. Even these supposed safe rooms are very creepy, with again that dark red glow kind of contrasting the black background, and how the monitor just does this really kind of startling scream when you click on it. These rooms are few and far between, leaving you with a constant worry of dying and losing your progress. This fear will keep you on your toes as you turn every little corner in hopes that you don't get ambushed by some creature and lose the bulk of your progress. I absolutely love the pixel art graphics, with a grainy film filter reminding me of some indie horror film. Signalis also has an incredible soundtrack, with eerie and haunting melodies and ambient sounds that perfectly complements the atmospheric and sketchy visuals. If you're in the mood for an old school survival horror game, definitely check out Signalis. It is $19.99 on the eShop. But what do you guys think of the list? And what are some indie games that you would recommend? Let me know that and everything else in the comments below. And if you would, go ahead and click on that like and subscribe button. It would really help the channel grow, and I would definitely appreciate it. Also, if you want, follow me on Twitter and Instagram. But most importantly, guys, thank you so much for watching. Have yourself a great day, and I'll see you on the next video.